that skill presents, percentage is 1. The word percent that's denoted by the symbol like this simply means per 100 or for every 100 or over 100. So if we say 40% of the students in a school are female, it means for every 100 students there are 40 females. And this over 100 actually lets you change a percentage to a fraction. So when we say 40%, this means 40 over 100 written as a fraction like this. And then you can simplify this. You can divide the numerator and the denominator with the greatest common factor of 40 and 100, which is 20. And then the fraction simplifies to 2 on the top, 5 on the bottom, 2/5. And then when we talk about a certain percentage of a given number, it's like saying what out of this number is equivalent to this percentage out here. For example, let's say we want to find 25% of 300. So this amounts to saying, okay, 25% means over 100, 25 over 100 is how much over 300. So that changes this to an equivalent fraction problem. And then obviously because it's a multiplication of a 3 over here, you want to multiply the numerator with 3 as well to keep the same fraction equivalent, and therefore this number is 75. So we said 25% of 300 is 75. Another way of doing this problem is, of course, to think of this word of in English as the operation multiplication in math. So when we talk about 25%, 25 over 100, of means multiplication always times 300. So this translates to this math expression. And then you can go ahead and multiply this fraction with this number, write it as a 300 over 1. You know what to do. Simplify 100 and 300, cross off, write a 3 here. 25 times 3 over 1 times 1, and that gives you 75 again. So you can think of this as a proportion and solve for the proportion, or you could think of this word of as a multiplication. Let's try and solve a couple of problems. Amber scored 35 out of 40 on a class test. What was his percentage score? So a score of 35 out of 40, meaning over 40, is equivalent to what percent, or what over 100. So let me call this x, and let me also change the percentage symbol to over 100. So we have x over 100. And to find x, you simply multiply both sides of this equation with 100. So if you do a times 100 on this side and a times 100 on this side, 100 and 100 cross off, so you have x is equal to 35 over 40 times 100. Time for us to simplify. Divide 35 and 40 with 5. So we have this as 7 on the top, 8 on the bottom times 100 over 1. That's x. And then you could divide 8 with 4 and 100 with 4. So you get 7 over 2 times 25 over 1. And that cannot be simplified. So if you multiply 7 with 25, you get 175 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and that simplifies to 87.5. So a score of 35 out of 40 on a test is the same as 87.5%. Meaning, if the total score were to be 100 instead of 40, the student would have scored 87.5. Let's do another one. A student has to score a minimum of 60% on a test in order to be promoted to the next level. If the total score on the test is 60, what is the minimum score needed to get promoted? So this time we are actually going the other way around. It's given that the minimum score required is 60%, which means if the total were to be 100, the minimum score required out of 100 would have been 60. But the total score is not 100. It's given the total score on the test is 60. So 60 out of a total of 100 is equivalent to how much, let's call that x again, out of a total score of 60. And therefore, to solve for x, we multiply both sides of the equation with 60 times 60 times 60. So we have 60 times 60 over 100 is equal to x, and that's nothing but 36. So a score of 36 out of a total of 60 is equivalent to 60%.